Consent, and I will bind myself not to proceed in any way or form. Now make your choice." "But I cannot. Even if I will, I cannot," said he, almost wringing his hands in his perplexity. "It was on condition of my taking up these mortgages that Ida consented to become engaged to me, and I have promised that I will cancel them on our wedding. Will you not take money instead? A little time ago I would not have taken it, because I wanted that property, but I have changed my ideas. But as you yourself said, your credit is strained to the utmost, and while your father is alive you will not find it possible to raise another £30,000. Besides, if this matter is to be settled at all, it must be settled now. I will not wait while you make attempts to raise the money." "But about the mortgages, I promise to keep them. What shall I say to Ida?" "Say nothing. You can meet them if you like, after your father's death. Refuse if you like, but if you refuse you will be mad. £30,000 will be nothing to you, but exposure will be ruin. Have you made up your mind? You must take my offer or leave it. Sign the documents, and I will put the originals of those 2 letters into your hands. Refuse, and I will take my steps." Edward Cossey thought for a moment and then said, "I will sign. Let me see the papers." Mr. Quest turned aside to hide the expression of triumph which flitted across his face, and then handed him the deeds. They were elaborately drawn, for he was a skilful legal draftsman, quite as skilful as many a leading chancery conveyancer, but the substance of them was that the mortgages were transferred to him by the said Edward Cossey, in and for the consideration that he, the said William M. Quest, consented to abandon for ever a pending action for divorce against his wife Bella Quest, whereunto the said Edward Cossey was to be joined as co-respondent. "You will observe," said Mr. Quest, "that if you attempt to contest the validity of this assignment, which you certainly could not do with any prospect of success, the attempt will recoil upon your head, because the whole scandal will then transpire. We shall require some witnesses, so with your permission I will ring the bell and ask the landlady and your servant to step up. They need know nothing of the contents of the papers." And he did so. "Stop," said Edward presently. "Where are the original letters?" "Here," answered Mr. Quest, producing them from an inner pocket and showing them to him from a distance. "When the landlady comes up I will give them to her to hold in this envelope, directing her to hand them to you when the deeds are signed and witnessed. She will only think that it is a part of the ceremony." Presently the manservant and the landlady arrived, and Mr. Quest, in his most matter-of-fact way, explained to them that they were required to witness some documents, and at the same time handed the letters to the woman, saying that she was to give them to Mr. Cossey when they had all done signing. Then Edward Cossey signed, and placing his thumb on the familiar wafer, delivered the various documents as his act and deed. And the witnesses, with much preparation and effort, affixed their awkward signatures in the places pointed out to them, and in a few minutes the thing was done, and Mr. Quest was a richer man by £30,000 than when he had got up that morning. "Now give Mr. Cossey that packet, Mrs. Jeffries," he said as he blotted the signatures, "and then you can go." And she did so and went. When the witnesses had gone, Edward looked at the letters, and then with a savage oath flung them into the fire and watched them burn. "Good morning, Mr. Cossey," said Mr. Quest as he prepared to depart with the deeds. "You have now bought your experience and had to pay dearly for it, but upon my word, when I think of all you owe me, I wonder at myself for letting you off at so small a price." When he had gone, Edward Cossey gave way to his feelings in language more forcible than polite, and what they were may be more easily imagined than described. For now, in addition to all the money that he had just lost, and the painful exposure to which he had been subjected, he was face to face with a new difficulty. Either he must make a clean breast of it to Ida about the mortgages being no longer in his hands, or he must pretend that he still had them. In the first alternative, the consideration upon which Ida had agreed to marry him came to nothing. Moreover, she was thereby released from her promise, and he was well aware that under these circumstances she would certainly break off the engagement. In the second, he would be acting a lie, and the lie would sooner or later be discovered. And what then? Well, if it was after marriage, what would it matter? To a woman of gentle birth there is only one thing more irretrievable than marriage, and that is death. Anyhow, he had suffered so much for the sake of this woman that he did not mean to give her up now. He must meet the mortgages after marriage, that was all. Facilis descensus Averni. When a man of character, of Edward Cossey, or indeed of any character, allows his passion to lead him into a course of deceit, he does not find it easy to check his wild career. From dishonour to dishonour shall he go, till at length, in due season, he reaps as he has sown. End of chapter 27.